very good morning to all of you. Wonderful to have you in a very interesting session, and also the last session of the competency mapping, which is on the behavioral event interviewing and competency based interview. This can be used. I'm sure most of you can go and apply it in whatever way you want while doing your selection for especially talent acquisition. And it's going to be a very, very useful tool in terms of selection and interviewing. Okay. All right. Before I begin and talk about this BEI and CBI, I want to do a small, I would say a mock interview. Okay. I want two volunteers, one to be an interviewer and the other will be a candidate. Okay. So who would like to be the interviewer? Okay, excellent. So Aman, I'm going to make you a candidate. Is that fine with you?
Sure.
All right. And Amit, I'm going to make you a interviewer. Okay. Our recruitment manager. Done? Okay. All right. Now, I want you all to take 2 minutes, and also I'm not going to give you any instructions, etc., excepting for want to throw a little light on the role. And I want you to do a role which is very, very common and easy to understand. Because I want others to watch, and I will also tell them what they have to observe and write down as well. So Amit is going to be the interviewer. He is working for an organization. We will identify an organization which Aman is working. It could be Vyapar or it could be any organization, simple organization. Now, Amit is looking for a recruiter. Okay. Why I said a simple role, a recruiter? Because I'm sure Aman can understand what does a recruiter, what does he do? You know the job description of a recruiter. Now here I'm also going to give a little more instruction in terms of saying, hey, this recruiter is going to be a campus recruiter. He's not doing any other. He's not looking at other job, but he's a campus recruiter because Amit's company is an engineering company which is looking at a lot of entry level executives, engineers. Okay, they go to the campuses and hire a lot of engineers, okay, who are just passed out. Then, so this is going to be what? A campus recruiter. Now, to give you a little more understanding of this job, lot of travel is required. Okay. He has to travel from campus to campuses, right? He has to organize what these, when you go to a campus recruitment, when you say that we are hiring 100 people, you have to also conduct an exam and testing their knowledge. Okay. And there is and only people who get 60% above are then selected, then they are shortlisted, and then they go for the next round of interviews. Okay. So this campus recruiter, he has to travel to all these campus, different colleges, not to IITs, but to tier 2 and tier 3. All right. Okay. So some of the colleges are also in interior places like tier 2, tier 3 cities. And well, so you know what typically what the role is. Now, so that's a briefing for Amit. Experience typically for this recruiter, maybe, 1 to 3 years, right? Education, of course, and MBA in HR. Others, please write the questions what Amit is asking. Please write the questions what Amit is asking, more importantly. And for that question, you can do 1 or 2 responses of what Aman is responding. Okay. We will do this interview for, say, couple of minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I'll give you a minute if you want to list out something, Amit, so that you can prepare just couple of questions. You want to do something, just give me a thumbs up and we will start. Maybe at best 1 minute or 2 to just reflect. So this is the role. And I'm not giving anything beyond this. You are doing your normal because all of you are doing this role in your organization. So no instructions for you. How do you go about doing an interview? Okay. Yeah. Welcome, Priya. All of you, please write down the questions. Okay. And I'm not giving any
Yes, ma'am.
instructions. No, nothing, no special instructions. Because I want them to do typically the way they do. Done? And you document both question and also some of the responses which Aman does. What is the objective of this exercise? That Amit is going to interview for a campus recruiter. And then we'll see whether he's going to select him or not. Right.
Sure.
Aman, are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So good morning, Aman.
Morning,
Aman, you have applied for a job with our organization, and our organization is an engineering organization. Primarily, we are looking forward to a recruiter for our various campus requirements, and we are growing, and we always believe that we should have people coming in, right from within the organization on senior roles. So definitely, campus become an important part. And we hire basically primarily in all the disciplines like management, engineering, maybe finance and accounts, maybe packaging, which is important for us in the industry. And then we also look forward to research and innovation people. So that's again a kind of an internal requirement. And of course, manufacturing. So when I say NITs, RECs, and other colleges, engineering colleges. So Aman, primarily we are looking forward for the role of campus recruiter, somebody who can manage out various campuses right from the beginning, who can make a relationship with the campuses. So I hope you have gone through with the JD and you know what are the requirements we have enumerated in our in our JD. So
Yes.
Why don't we start with your your experience, expertise in this particular discipline?
Sure, Amit. First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity, right? And as you know, through my CV, that I'm carrying around 2 years of experience as a campus recruiter specifically, and my current association with is primarily with one of the engineering companies, right? So I feel that I may be a more relevant candidate for this opening with your organization, as I have, I've gone through the details of the organization. It seems to be more stable and all. So definitely that is one of the reason why I have applied for this position, right? As I said, in the same domain I'm working with. So I deeply understand the kind of requirement comes along with that. So yes, and my organization, focuses mostly the western and the northern part of the country, wherein primarily I'm required to be, building relations with the colleges and tier 2, tier 3 cities, and building relationship with the placement officers and even the deans of the colleges, wherein we are regularly hiring from those. Usually, as a company policy, we do not go for IITs and all, right, at initial level, and we believe that we can, bring talents from the campus and nurture them throughout the journey with the organizations they have, right? So yes, I do carry that kind of an experience wherein I've been collaborating and communicating a lot in terms of with the colleges and all. And yes, we do a good number of hiring. We get the hiring mandates from the hiring managers, and basis the numbers and the kind of position and the roles they are looking for. And probably many of the times it is like an intern role wherein we start with to hire interns. So my job is to take the requirement from the department and then connect with the colleges in case if they come up with some of the preferences, like for the particular location they want to hire or something. So I get in touch with those colleges, or in case of a journalist, then we go back with our database, connect with the colleges, roll out the JDs and ask for the participation. And basis the participation, then we, go ahead with our interview program and all, wherein we conduct a written test. Usually that is done as a round of filtration, wherein, we get a good number of people from the campuses. And then basis which we have a criteria of, somebody scoring 60% and above cleared. And then we start with our technical rounds, which done in two ways. So one is a managerial technical round, and the other one is a functional head, basis which we get a score from both the manager and the functional head. Then a weighted average score comes, and basis which we have a criteria if somebody is scoring above a certain level will get cleared from the test, and then goes through the offer letter and the other related process.
Aman, from the conversation, I took out 2 points. I mean, one, you said that you collaborate with the various colleges in between. I would like to understand more about it. Like, how do you collaborate? Because normally the placement seasons are on during the time of November or maybe December every year. And in case if you are looking forward to a batch which is passing out in December, perhaps by somewhere close to August, the placement season gets on. So around the year, how do you ensure that our organization gets first slot or second slot to the best while visiting any of the campuses? And also, the other second part of my question is that you spoke about technical round of interviews and functional round of interviews. But then, in case if you are looking forward to people in volume in thousands, and let's say I'm talking about I require 400 engineers, GTs, 400 postgraduate diplomas in management. Let's say I'm talking about another 200 in MTechs. I talk about another 500, let's say, diploma holders. Or if I talk about 50 from finance and accounts, commercial segment, maybe packaging and all smaller segments. So how do you ensure that, with the interview process or with some other process of hiring, you ensure that these numbers are met? So there are basically two questions which I wanted to just put up.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Amit, what happens when we get the requirement from the department, right? So obviously, we do get the numbers and all. And as we all know that we have to hire from the campus, so we plan accordingly, because we know when the batches are getting on, when the people are, will be ready for that. So primarily the all planning is around that only, and the kind of deep connect we enjoys with the colleges, because in past we have had a good number of people from those colleges. So we do have that kind of a connect with the placement officers and the placement cell, wherein whenever their batch is ready, we always get a first hand invitation from them, because we have been the prime hirers from these colleges. So wherein we ensure that whenever the batch is ready and the people are available, we get that the information, so that we should always be on the first or the second slot to appear in that college, right? And to answer you, see, hiring for a bulk will always have a different kind of a strategy, wherein we are looking for bulk numbers. So obviously our the process has will not be that stringent, right? It has to be a bit relaxing, because you cannot be very stringent that only people scoring 80% or 70% will get hired and all, right? Because we are not looking for 5-10 people. Here we are talking about 50 people, 100 people, or 200 people with different domains, right? So we'll segregate what domains we are looking into it, and which are the colleges which specializes in those kind of domains. Getting in touch with those colleges and placing a request, and also placing the number of and seeing what numbers of people available there, right? So when we say if we want to hire 400 engineers, right? It may not be possible that this gets sufficed from one of the colleges only. We have to get in touch with number of colleges, and we have to schedule accordingly, so that we can get those slots available in those colleges, and we may able to pick up the best talent available. So it's more about planning how we have to go about it, depending on the requirement. So when we do the manpower budgeting and planning exercise, right, it usually is being done around February and April, when if we are looking around with the financial year or so. So we as a recruiter, we get
You
the
have one
mandates
more
and
minute, Amit. We will do one more minute and close, huh?
Sure, sure.
so we get those kind of mandates, right? During the year, this is our the manpower planning what we are looking at, and the segregation also. These would be the freshers or people hired through the Campus Connect, or these are the experience we have to go to the market and find out, or some headhunting is to be done. And so we have all those segregated, and the team works accordingly, wherein we get those mandates and we start working on that, connecting with the colleges. Although the batches are going on, but still we nurture and keep the relationship warm, so that we are in a continuous connect with the colleges. And whenever we have that time of the hiring time starts, we should get that invitation, and we can start off with the process, and we can go ahead with the closing of the positions.
Sure.
And depending on the numbers, we strategize how do we have to go with the evaluation process, and how we are looking at, and the cutoffs and everything get set according to that only.
Sure. Sure, Aman, thank you. I think a good conversation. Your experience definitely speaks out. Let us come back to you in a day or two. Sure.
Sure,
Thanks for
Thank
bringing this
you.
along.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
both
ma'am.
of you. Thank you for volunteering and also helping us to understand. So here, I want to get A. So are you going to select him, Amit? Let's see.
Ma'am, I
I
would like
would-
to give a kind of a feedback. Though I see that I'm speaking with an experienced person, and 2 years, of course, is not the experience which Aman is reflecting upon, because definitely it's a mature, conversation we had. Definitely, I will not expect a 2-year experienced person speaking like this. But simultaneously, I would also like to, elaborate, Aman, that while I was asking a question on collaboration. Basically, what happens normally in the campus recruit is, I mean, this is my experience. Of course, you also hold your experience true. But then around the year when we are looking forward to collaboration, what I meant was that we should be participating in the campuses by way of guest lectures, by way of informing students, visiting campuses by virtually or physically informing students about the latest happening in your organization, creating a buzz. Talking
Okay.
about
All
right
right.
from the inception to what is happening latest.
Okay.
Second,
Okay.
I was
So
also
we
looking.
will not
Sorry.
get into. I'm so sorry, Amit, to cut you, because we have a lot of things to do. But
Yeah.
point well taken. Okay. Let us first of all ask the group. What do you think was the right question? Or what do you think? Because the focus is on Amit. We are doing what? Interviews. We are doing a behavioral event interviewing. Today's topic is competency-based interview. So the focus is more towards the interviewer. So let me get some observations, some comments from the group. Anybody, please speak.
So basically,
brief.
I felt that when Amit asked a question, he gave enough time for Aman to explain that everything what he is doing. So I thought there was active listening after asking a question. One thing that I felt could have been done better was sometimes the number of questions that came one after the other. That can I feel confuse the candidate. And I'll give an example. Amit started as soon as Aman said collaborate with colleges. Amit said, okay, let me pick on that. There is a certain period when you can ask when placements happen. So how do you collaborate through the year? How do you get the first slot? But then he continued to say that, and then how do you ensure that we get the numbers? Because we have so many different categories. And then there was also the third question, which is, how do you then ask all the technical questions that's required? So that I felt was like a range of questions for a candidate to process and respond, So
Good
that's-
observation.
Yeah,
Good
those were my
observation.
two
Yes,
observations.
absolutely. Good observation. Okay. All right. So, Amit, I was wanting, so that without any bias, how do we typically, let me revise this going. Yeah. How do we typically do an interview? Typically, what we do? We call the candidate, right? Huh? Let me tell you guys, the most easiest thing we all HR people feel that taking an interview is the easiest thing. You agree?
True.
No, not at all.
Not at
But,
all.
So
huh?
that is what we
Huh?
perceive as.
But our, the basis of an effective, of course, it's a very challenging thing for all the talent acquisition people, day in and day out, doing interviews and acquiring talent and assessing them, selecting the candidate. But let me tell you, do we follow a structured process? How efficient are we? Huh? What is the impact of that interview? How did we go about? So there is so much of a science behind this interview. How many of the organizations? I've been doing so many competency-based interviewing programs in house. And I have noticed that a lot of not just the mid-level managers, but also the senior level managers do not know how to interview. They think they are experts and they can actually select the person just spending 2 minutes, 5 minutes looking at the candidate and asking two questions. Do you all feel so? Just give me yes or no. We all feel that in 2 minutes and 3 minutes you can select a candidate. It is not so. It is not so. A. So therefore, the purpose of this session is to ensure that you really understand what is this goal of a very scientific based competency based interview. How do we go about? What is that we need to consider? And how can we increase the predictability? So to begin with, just before I actually show you any kind of a PPTs, the goal of the interview is what is it? Anybody, please let us, because it's such a common topic. So I'm sure everybody can participate and help me with it. What is your goal
To
of an
select a
interview?
right
Huh?
fit for that job.
Aman says, okay, let me use a board up so that it will help me to really, and it will also reinforce and help all of you. So Aman says, yeah. Aman, can you tell me what
Right
is the
fit for
goal
the
of
job.
the interview?
Select the right fit for
Right?
the job.
Or one second. Yeah. So you are saying right person
Yeah, right person, right fit
for
for
the
the job.
given job, right? For
Right.
the given job, huh? Okay. So when you say right person, that means you are also saying, hey, when I select that person, he definitely needs to perform in the way that job has to perform. Agreed?
Right.
Huh? That means the outcome when he is onboarded, that he has to really be a good
Delivering that way.
performer, or rather he should be able to deliver. So what does it mean? So it also means that I can, when I'm actually interviewing and selecting the candidate, I can predict only that he is a
Good
good
fit.
performer on the
Good
job,
performer.
right? That is what, if I'm able to predict that, then that means I've really done my job of interviewing very well. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, right. So this is the goal of the job. So when I want to interview, select a person, a right person for the given job, so typically what is very important for me? What do you think is the first step I need to, if I want to do this? This is my goal. What is the most important thing I should know? Step one. What do you think is important for me? If
Competencies or
Amit was the interviewer for this recruiter, what do I need to know? What kind of a preparation I need to do? Preparation. What is that?
Knowing the competencies that are required for
competencies.
the job.
So can I say first of all, hmm,
Job
job
description.
description,
Yeah,
Yes.
I will talk about the job first. The job
right?
description. Yeah.
You agree? Right.
Yes.
That I need to know
The job
job
description.
description, which includes what? The role or the position. So when I say job description, it also includes job specification. That means education, experience, etc. And more importantly, what I need to know, hey, What are the key
Competencies.
Competencies required.
Competencies.
You agree? That's what we've been talking about. How, we talked about competencies and we said how competencies can be used in the what? HR function. So how can it be used in this talent acquisition or recruitment function? So how can it be used? By understanding what are the key competencies required for this role. So now, if I were to do my job rightly for for the recruiter's job, for a campus recruiter, what obviously knowledge will be there in my job description. Okay, education, maybe an MBA HR, knowledge of what the recruitment processes, etc. And also, what kind of skills do you think typically? We'll just take one or two skills. What kind of skills do you think are important?
Relationship building, communication.
Skills.
And
Typically,
okay.
skills will be what? What
Okay.
kind of a skills?
Use of sourcing channels.
Yeah. Use of technology becomes very, very important, right? You have to be skilled in technology, in terms of what Excel, etc., MS Office, use of social media, etc. Then, so we won't give so much of emphasis to skills. What kind of competencies do you think you will be required? Collaboration, right?
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Adaptability. Do you think adaptability
Yes.
will be required?
Yes.
Then
Stress
people
management.
skills.
People skill.
Huh? Then communication.
That's a skill. That's a skill, right?
Pardon? Yeah. So people skills can be both in terms of communication can become a skill, and also communication can also become what? A competency.
Okay,
All right. Okay. So I'm just sticking to this.
sure.
No. So in your CV, easily what you have education, experience, etc., right? So therefore, if I have to hire a person, I can just look at the CV and say, fine, he is good at this and I can hire. But why do we do an interview? Anybody, it's not just Amit did the interviewing, so therefore I'm only asking Amit. Anybody, Aman, anybody. Why can't I just go through the CV which explains everything, what his education is, what his experience is, what kind of skills he has been applying in terms of, his own, wherever he has worked.
Because
So
CV,
why
I
should
think, will
I
give only the top of the iceberg.
Right.
Because
Tip
CV,
of
I
the
think, will
iceberg,
tell
yeah.
us only about
Yeah.
the top tip of the iceberg.
Surface,
We're not talking
surface.
about.
But what is submerged in the water? So how can I actually then know what exactly is he? What kind of a people skills? What kind of adaptability? What kind of a collaboration? So therefore, coming to these some of the questions. I mean, don't mind, huh? Like for example, rightly so. If I go through all the questions, I will make the comment on those multiple questions later, but I'll focus on the key things in terms of when we do typical interview, do we focus on knowledge I can test just by asking, or even the experiences, etc. But what about those competencies? Were there any questions which focused? Yes, of course, you talked about, you said you collaborate. How do you do that? Well, round the year, how do you ensure that? And then you carried on with the, second part of my interviewing is the numbers, etc., etc. But have you focused anywhere asking him, how did you go about? Have you seen your questions? That is what we typically forget to do. We typically focus on what often. And even if you notice Aman's responses, Well, in this job, you have to do a lot of relationship building. Amit asked in a different way, but he focused on relationship, right, Amit?
Yeah.
But and Aman responded, I have been building relationship. It could be a false behavior. But did you ask him, okay, what is that you did to build relationships in the campuses, okay, in the past jobs? We didn't know. What is that you did? Or he said, we have converted, if you notice responses of Aman, we have converted, we've done this, we have, but you have not asked him, okay, what is that you did to connect with the colleges? Let me give you interesting things. If you notice Aman's responses, everything was like, we have to go about like that. Huh? We have to do manpower planning and budget. So, Amit, did you pin him down to saying, what is that you did with respect to manpower planning? How did you go about? Give me a situation where you had to plan for the requirement and give me what is that Aman said, I did planning, organizing, etc. So give me a situation where you had to do planning for your campus recruitment. Then what will happen, Amit, when he gives you a situation? What do you think? Will it give you a much more insight into just not the what part of just planning and organizing, but how did he go about everything?
True.
Now, why am I emphasizing how part of it? For all the participants, not Amit, how does that help you when I'm asking him, hey, how did you go about? What is that you did? What will it emphasize or what will it throw upon or what is the insight you will get? Please let me know. I just want other participants also. How will it help you?
You'll get to know a little bit more about the behaviors and why the person is doing what they're doing. In their mind, they must have had a linkage that, this is why, if I do this, this is, this is what I will get. So that thought process, you'll be able to.
So when you get deeper and deeper, probing further and further, let me tell you, this entire CBI is about, then you will get to know what is that he did, the action verbs, through the entire situation, what kind of actions did he do? So that will actually differentiate from a high performer to an average performer, or from a superior performer to an average performer, because the intensity or that action verb will throw a lot of light, because what you did and how you did will actually give you the proficiency level for which then you will actually then do a rating. Hey, for example, okay, if you'll say, yes, we took a list of them and then we went around and said, it's okay, fine. But if you say, I actually looked at all the tier 2, tier 3, how did you go about collecting data about what is it? Different engineering colleges. Then we looked at what kind of curriculum they have. Then we looked at what kind of offerings they do. Then I also looked at matching the kind of positions we required with whatever degrees of curriculum they have. And you are going, so if a person is going to go in detail and tell you each and everything as to how did he go about, what coordination he did, how much more input he got from it, what kind of an initiative he has taken, won't you think that you will give him much more higher rating to that person as opposed to somebody who just said, okay, I looked at list of engineering colleges, I spoke to the placement coordinator, and then we just went and did something. Are you able to differentiate from a high performer to a average performer? So the entire science of today's behavioral interviewing and competency-based interviewing is based on not just the what of it, but it is the how part of it. And what is much more important is that here the entire emphasis, typically all talent acquisition, I'm sure at one point of time, everybody has interviewed. We always ask them hypothetical questions. We always ask them, okay, so, and the candidate also tries to tell you things that I could do this, when can do this, we will do this. But we have to focus on past behavior, because the entire essence of this session is past behavior predicts future behavior. That is the main thing. What is it? Past behavior predicts future behavior. So therefore, the entire competency itself is based on this, that if you have done it in the past and if you have demonstrated this, that means, and not demonstrated like, just once in a blue moon. No. Consistently, that means then you can show up, you can demonstrate this behavior, you have it within you, you have it deep inside, you have it as a trait. Not that, it shows up sometime, very rarely. So therefore, even when you do an assessment center, what do we do? We need to this, the presence of these competencies by ensuring that we are not just testing in one situation, but in couple of multiple situations. Does that sound sense, guys? Please, does that give you a little understanding as to what is this behavior, event interviewing, and the competency-based interviewing is all about? Okay? All right. So today we are actually going to talk about, so I'm not doing much of competency map, etc. But the focus will be more in terms of the BEI and also the competency-based interviewing. So all these interviewing challenges I have skipped because we have done a mock interview, and I'm sure. So let me just take broadly. Anybody, it's open to everybody. So one major challenge or two challenges when you have to do recruitment or interviewing. Anybody, please, quick. When you have done in the past interviewing, one major challenge or two major challenges while you were doing interview. What are some of the challenges you have faced when you were doing the interviews? Guys?
One challenge that I have faced is there's a lot of things that I need to know in terms of their approach thinking, but the time is also equally only limited. So to plan it in such a way that I get everything in that half an hour to 45 minutes. So I think that's one challenge that I constantly face, and overrun the interview in terms of time.
Okay. So Priya says challenge is that how do I, for the 45 minutes or 1 hour, get to know everything in detail which I want to assess about a candidate, right? Okay. Then any other challenge, guys? Yeah. Anybody? Everybody is a recruiter. I'm sure at one point of time you have been interviewing. Yeah.
How do you differentiate between, someone saying the truth versus, sometimes they may be telling something and they may be articulate also, but they actually may not be being very truthful. So I find that little difficult to
So how do I know when they narrate situations, etc., whether they are faking or they are really telling me, the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Whether it's a fake behavior or a true behavior.
Sometimes they might just tell a story, narrate a story which happened to a friend, for example. It may not be something.
And then say it as though it happened to them. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then anybody else? We'll take one more challenge. That's it. So, so what is that we understand when we say behavioral based interviewing? That means when we talk about a behavioral based interviewing, we are looking at the past behavior, because past behavior predicts. That is the theory which is based by the behavioral event interviewing. And when we talk about behavioral event interviewing, BEI, We are focusing on what the behaviors. How did the candidate or how did the person respond or deal with critical situations in the past, and what kind of behaviors did he demonstrate? Okay. So when we talk about past behavior predicts future behavior. So we said then we are typically, say for example, we use this BEI also to do our competency models. In fact, when we do competency management and competency mapping, when we want to elicit the key competencies required for a particular role. Say, for example, I want to elicit the key competencies for an L&D manager. So what do? Then I will actually do a BEI. I will then talk to a good performer and then ask him about certain critic. So what does it take to be very good at in your job? And they'll say, okay, then ask him certain situations, critical situations. How did he go about? Okay. And when I'm talking about critical situations, I can use a technique which is called a STAR technique. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the STAR technique. Yes or no? Familiar. When I said a situation, because just now when Amit was asking collaboration, or Amit wanted to know how adaptable is the other person. So I use a technique. I tell him, okay, now please help me with a critical situation as to how did you go about collaborating. Then one needs to know the STAR technique, and if he doesn't, you can actually help him. So please use a STAR technique to help me to understand. Now, what is the STAR technique all about? He has to first tell you about the situation. What was the situation? Why did it happen? Okay. Typically, give a little background about what is that situation about. Thereafter, he will have to tell you what did he do, the entire thing, and then how did he go about. That is very important. And what was the result? For example, I will ask Aman, not Aman, I'll ask Priya. Okay, Priya, is it okay? I'm going to use you.
Yes, sure.
Just, okay. I will ask Priya. Okay. Priya, okay. You can use your current role, Priya. Okay. So what are you working as,
Yeah.
Priya? As the head of HR, right? In a
Right.
infrastructure, right?
Right.
All right. So I'm going directly to a certain competency. Okay.
Okay.
So tell me a critical situation where you had to deal with some of your stakeholders and build relationships. Tell me a very critical situation as to what was the situation about, and how did you, what did you do, and how did you go about? What was the outcome? You can be very, very brief, very,
Sure.
a very small situation. Yeah, just
Sure.
you can take 30
This
seconds
was
to think
immediately
about it.
after I had just joined the organization. So I had still not built my credibility and built my relationship with the stakeholders. When I could see that there was a complete breakdown between two teams, especially because of the heads of those teams who couldn't get along. So I had to involve our managing director, because these two people that I'm talking about were my peers. I had to tell him that it's because these two leaders don't get along is why the teams are not getting along, leading to a complete breakdown of productivity, results, and we're not thinking organization, but we're thinking people. So there is a need to get these two leaders together to speak out what their concerns are, issues are. And when we did that, we realized there were so many underlying issues which was built up over a period of so many years. And then based on that, we had to plan interventions which would help these two individuals break their issues and break their perceptions about each other, misunderstandings which were built over a period of years, for them to start working together.
Okay.
I'm just being
Now,
brief.
yeah.
So
you are brief. Well, just to make, I'm sure everybody heard about it. So here Priya is talking about a situation where she says that there was a breakdown of two teams and they were not able to get along well. And the outcome was that she did few things, interventions. As a result, a lot of things came up and they were able to then get back on that track. Now, I had involved the managing director. Okay. I needed to speak. So there was so the way typically what happens when you are interviewing and when you want to really classify the behaviors, then you need to understand whether this person is coming from, so this is what I did, or sometimes it's okay, we did this. So A is very, very important when you're doing a behavioral event interviewing to differentiate between whether it is I or we. Okay? Very important. Two, the focus is the person he is the candidate. So you need to keep on probing that, okay, so what is that you did? Or how did you go about? Or, keep on probing in terms of then next, what is that next? So here she was very short and so I wanted it to be very short because we were going to do that at a later point of time. But yes, so you have to focus on more of the action part rather than the outcome or the result part. Okay, the result could be positive or negative, but when you analyze the action part, then that's where you can classify the behaviors and say, yes, this person has really taken the initiative, or this person was empathetic to the stakeholders, or this person had actually was able to solve the problem by initiating these kind of discussions with the different stakeholders. Okay, so these are some of the things which will be highlighted when you probe further and further. But many a times you will notice that we do not do the probing part correctly. So we don't go deep down. We only look at, oh, the candidate has said, this is what I did, and this is the result. And then you just go by that. So that is not going to elicit any kind of information in terms of for you to gauge or for you to assess or for you to evaluate to what extent, to what proficiency level is he displaying the competency. Okay. So we will do more in terms of what. So when we talked about a situation, it is not a situation which is normal. It has to be a critical incident. That means something which is very important, something which has some kind of a significance, because he can talk about any incident. So when you're talking about, again, critical incidents, there has to be some amount of a significance. So when I say significance, what does it mean? It should have an impact. Okay. Any clarification for further significance, guys? Then it should not be a situation which is something very, oh my, 2 years ago I did this. No, it has to be recent, something at least within the 3 months or so. So it has to have a recency. Then the situation should not be such that something, out of the way. It has to be something with what he is doing with the job, because I'm not related with some situation which is not in context with the job, not related with the job. And like, for example, if I'm looking at a critical situation of a campus recruiter, He has to give me situations, significant situations which deals with those trends and times, etc. Not something which has done 2 years ago, 3 years ago, totally out of context, which has to be job related. Guys, is that understood? Because we're going to do certain kind of exercises and also some practice sessions. So have all of you understood what I meant by a critical incident situation? Just give me a thumbs up, guys. So it should have a significance. It should also have a recency effect. It should be related to the job and also should have connectivity with the credits. Okay, that's always the incident method. Okay. And when you're doing a BEI, we need to keep probing. So what is the meaning of probing? Anybody who wants to just give me a little understanding of probing? Like, for example, I did not do any probing when Priya was asking, right? But typically what happens when she said, well, the two teams did not get along. Oh, so why? What was the reason for them not to get along? Okay. Then I got involved. So what is that you to get the managing director involved? Okay. Then what I'll say, oh, there was a breakdown and needed to speak. So what was the breakdown about? Want to understand, right? So what is that you did to speak? So what were some of the issues and how did you go about? How did you deal with those issues? So I am going further and further. So what is probing? First of all, getting a general statement about the situation. It's a funnel technique. When I keep going further and further, so when I'm doing probing, do you do the talking more or do you keep listening? The golden path. Okay, okay, okay. Then tell me what happened. All right. So, what is the kind of a skill you must demonstrate more? Listening. Listening and not selective listening. Listening, not judgmental listening, saying that, oh, this person must have done like this. No, you should be like a video, non-judgmental, non-evaluative. You are just listening verbatim. Because once you start becoming evaluative, what do you think you will be doing for that interview, whatever you have documented? Please, quick. What will happen then? Anybody, guys? What will happen when you become evaluative with whatever the person is, uh, stating? Then what do you tend to become then?
Some of your own biases might come in.
Biases might come. You will then start saying, you will inferring, oh, he started getting angry. Like I like the way yesterday, after the class, a person asked me, ma'am, but maybe, my thumping of the hand was not because of anger, maybe because I wanted to say a point. Right? Or for example, you will see on the shop floor somebody, the manager, after sitting for many hours, is walking. Now, will you say that the manager is doing management by walking, or will you say that he is actually straightening his legs? So you have to know the real intent. But when you start doing selective listening and when you become evaluative, judgmental, then you are trying to put your biases and wrong inferences. Okay, so that's how it is. Yeah. So probing. So typically when you are probing, again, I have asked you, please ensure that bring the person back. Typically the tendency is to say, oh, we did this. But then please tell me, what was your role? What did you do? Because I'm more interested in you. I want to know what that person did. Okay. So there's a tendency for the candidate or the interviewee to always talk about we, but we should always talk about what is that he did. All right. Okay. So these are some of the things. So let us actually do again a practice session. Now I'll give you exactly what a guided kind of a practice session. Okay. And I also want some of the observers who will be listening to the entire interview to make their observations, all right, and record as they are. And then we will do the classification. Okay. Now, here is an example, right? I want you all to pick up 3 competencies or 4 competencies from the 4 buckets, which are the key competencies for an HR manager. Say, operation, everybody is familiar. I can use an HRBP role or an HR operation role. Which will you prefer? Quick.
HRBP.
HR business partner. Is everybody comfortable with the HR business partner role? Okay, done. So kindly pick up 4, and we will not pick up, as a group, we will pick up. So in the first bucket, which competency do you want to pick up for an HR business partner role? Quick.
Perseverance.
Perseverance. Please make a note of it, because then I will tell you what to do. Perseverance. All right. Then in people skills.
Communication.
Communication. All right. Then in managerial aptitude.
Independent judgment.
All right. Independent judgment. Everybody is agreeing, right? Okay. And in team orientation.
I would say employee relations.
Employee relations.
Team orientation,
Okay.
I would say, yeah.
Oh, okay. In team orientation, we'll take employee relations. All right. Now, perseverance, communication, independent judgment, team, yeah, and employee relations. Now, if you actually look at your own document, you will also have a definition of this. I'm sure all of you can just look at your definitions of this. And you will also have certain behavioral indicators and certain questions also. All right. And certain questions. Now, the first exercise I want you all to do as a group, you can do it. How many of you are there? Okay. Yeah. So what you need to do, please, very, very clear. HR business partner role. Okay. Key competence. We are only looking at behavioral competencies. Why? It is very, very easy to test for knowledge by asking questions, right? It's very easy. And it is also very easy to evaluate or test for a skill. But what is difficult and complex is to evaluate or assess the behavioral competencies. So the focus will be given more for the behavioral competencies. The first and the foremost thing to do before you actually interview a person now, if these are the 4 key competencies required for his HR business partner role, now just write that cluster saying, what will you do? Say, for example, so for example, you are saying perseverance. Okay. Use an Excel sheet, write the definition. Definition. You can write a global definition. It is written there. Now, when write for that HRBP role, you can use 2 groups. So one can use a manufacturing organization, one can use an IT industry, depending on which industry. Now write the definition for that particular, your industry definition. What? The role definition for your industry. Role definition. Once you have done that, how do you, in that role, what does perseverance mean? Then please write indicators. All right. Then after that, And now you will say, hey, from where to look at indicators? In the document which has been given to you, 2-3 documents, you will find all the material. So here you don't have to really think. You have to use that as a group. You have to do. Then, what are the questions? What questions will you ask to test or evaluate or assess this perseverance for that HR business partner role? Is it very clear what I've asked you to do now? What does it mean? HRBP role, perseverance. So not just perseverance, that means communication, independent judgment. So for all these 4, you need to write. So to make the work easier, perseverance and communication group 1, and independent judgment and employee relations group 2. Okay, is that fine? Am I being fair to you guys? All right, so what you need to do, definition of that key competency. Yeah, I'll just take your role definition, write the behavioral indicators, and what are the questions you're going to ask for this business partner role. The only difference is one group will have a different industry in mind, and the other group will have another industry. So group 1 will have manufacturing organization, assuming that probably 1 or 2 people will be in the manufacture, and group 2 will have an IT or any other industry. Done? Yeah. Breakout activity rooms. Yeah, open them. Before you all go, please tell me, is that very clear? Group 1 is going to take 2, and the group 2 is going to take 2 competencies, so that, perseverance and communication 1 group, independent judgment and employee relations 1 group. None on the questions. Okay. Who wants to present? Yeah, Priya. Okay, Priya, come. Now, before you start, I wanted to also help you with this exercise.
Yeah.
The objective or the purpose of this exercise is all of us know how to interview, etc.
Right.
But the success of the interview depends on are we very, very clear about the criteria or the key competencies which impact performance? So
Right.
typically, knowledge, skill, abilities, etc. The knowledge and skill can be easily evaluated because it is above the water level. Knowledge by asking questions, which are direct questions. If I don't know, you can ask, okay, compensation theory, or, the different competency models. So knowledge can be easily assessed. Skill also you can make the person do, and you can. But what is very important is the key competencies. So that's the major challenge. So for your practice and understanding, so here you are supposed to be evaluating, assessing 2 key competencies for an HR business partner role in the context of a manufacturing organization: perseverance and communication. As I earlier clearly explained, that the definition of a competency, a general or a global definition could be one, but the role definition becomes a little different or modified because it is contextual.
Right.
Are you all in line with that? Huh?
Yeah.
Now, having said
Yeah.
that, when I'm assessing this, so I need to understand, what does this perseverance mean? How does it translate into observable behavior? Because only when I observe behavior, I will say he's a team player, he's a perseverant person, he has better communication, right? So I need to understand that very, very clearly. And therefore, I gave you this task of writing indicators and then asking questions. Yeah. So now, whoever it is, please start. Start from questions.
Start from questions.
Yeah, so that I know. Yeah, you can actually define the definition, and or you can start from C, D, E, F. No problem.
Okay, so the definition, this is something we took from the guide that was available, which is a global definition.
Yeah, what is it? Read it
A
out.
person's established work schedule and goals tirelessly and to a successful end, despite any situational obstacles, and willing to go the distance every time, was the global definition for perseverance. the role definition based on an HRBP role in a manufacturing firm, we feel the definition then would be ensuring continuous running of the plant by timely manpower availability, training, zero loss of productive hours and casualties, effective settlements and upkeep of the society and environment, despite challenges and obstacles faced, and willing to go the extra mile.
Yeah. So I would say to be a little bit crisp, I will say first, ensuring continuous running of the plant, right? And ... timely manpower availability, training, zero loss of productivity hours, okay, upkeep of society and environment, because all that is also important, and challenging obstacles. These are the various factors or the criteria by which we can ensure continuous running of the plant. Yes, great. Very good job. Yeah.
In terms of the behavioral indicators for this role, we want the person to have the ability to define the problems faced by the different stakeholders, internal and external. So internal being our employees, the workers, external being the union, the compliance officers, etc., and analyzing possible solutions and selecting a plan of action by fully utilizing all the available resources. That's one thing that we want to look at as a behavioral indicator. The second thing is this person has the ability and is willing to take action to address needs without being requested to do so. So basically, it's proactive. And the third behavioral indicator is staying on task to completion, particularly in the face of obstacles or other trying circumstances.
To completion means ensuring that you are not leaving the task in between, but ensuring that there is task completion.
Right.
Yeah. In spite of all these obstacles and other circumstances, ensuring that your task is completed. Good. So what are some of the questions can I see to assess the perseverance?
Yeah, if somebody could go to the next column, please, Amit. So when confronted with a major obstacle,
no, suddenly that question thing has disappeared somewhere.
Yeah, Amit, go to that question column, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we are just making this up now on the go, ma'am, because we didn't
no,
have
you have written
questions.
the question, right? No, you have written the question already.
Just copy pasted from that document. We've not yet made up a question. So our question would be, give us an example about the most challenging situation that you faced, where you felt you cannot go on anymore. How did you deal with a situation like that? Did you complete it or did you give up?
Okay, we'll stay with that question. And this question is not just for only group 1. Is it group 1 or group 2 I'm talking to?
Group 1.
Group 1. But the learning is for everybody.
This is group 1, ma'am.
Yeah, the learning is for everybody. Now we'll stay with this question. What are we testing? We are testing perseverance. Okay. And the question is, give us an example of a challenging situation and you're dealing with the same. What else? I'm not able to. And I want to read that exact.
It was basically give us an example of a challenging situation that you faced and how did you deal with it? Were you able to take it to
Okay. So here is it. For the
or you had to give up.
Okay. So you're already feeding so much. If I were to ask this question I will ask Aman, because Aman will give a very nice response. Aman, Priya is asking you, testing you for a perseverance. Give us an example of a challenging situation and you are dealing with the same thing and whether you completed it or yes or no. How will you go about what will be your reaction?
Challenging situation. So first I'll give a challenging situation like, working for a manufacturing plant.
Okay. And then you will know. So the question I'm trying to say is, the framing of a question. the framing of the question is very long. Got it? Priya?
Yes.
The framing of the question is very, very long. One, you are already saying, have you completed it? Have you not completed it? Success. You have to give it what? The first fundamental principle of asking a question, especially in a BEI, or what we are talking about is a competency-based interview also. Open-ended question. Please write down an open-ended question. What does it mean, open-ended?
But
You are
there's no,
not
there's
giving
no
yes,
yes or
no,
no. I did it, did not
nothing.
do it kind of
You
an
are
answer.
saying general open-ended.
General question.
Now, because I'm very specific to that perseverance, tell me of a challenging situation you had to deal with regard to the, you can directly say, with regard to ensuring continuity of the plan,
Right.
right? We did it. But you
Right.
have left it open, no? You are
Yeah.
not saying yes and if and everything. Challenging situation with regard to the continuity of the plan. Are you all, I mean, okay with that? Now, are you getting me how you have to frame your
Yeah.
question? First question open-ended, because if you are already putting so many things there, saying that if it is not like this, so that means you are limiting him already. No, open-ended,
Sure.
let him come out with it. Then that is the open-ended question. Then after that, what will you say? Okay, this is situation. Oh, okay, what happened? So now you are trying to start probing in.
Okay.
Okay, then what happened? What is that you did? What action you did? Huh? What kind of a compliance was required? Then how did you go about it? How did you address that need? Are you, so for that you need to listen to the entire thing carefully and look at it, right? Now, if you have not got sufficient information, only certain things, then again you can ask, saying, for example, okay, what were some of the obstacles you had to face? Then you'll say, oh, there were many obstacles. This is okay. Then what did you do when you faced these obstacles? What was that action taken by you? How did you go about taking action? Who cooperated? What is that you did to get his cooperation? Are you understanding? So you
Yeah.
are getting, unless and until you get more and more data, but at this point of time, you are not judging the data immediately in your head. Let it go on, document it, write that. That is why documentation is also very, very important. When you are asking a behavior question in event interviewing, then you have to document or record it, because otherwise you will miss out on real information. Because it is later on at the end of it that you will then classify it into under which behavior will it come, right? Behavior is observed and measurable, but you can't say you can't infer it and say this is what he did. Got it? Are you very clear now, please? Huh? That's what I'm trying to make you understand. Let's go ahead. Next question. I want to see what question. Okay. So don't start with when confronted with a major obstacle. So typically the nature of questions when you're asking is, tell me about a time. Tell me and give me an example, or tell me about a situation. So it's always, very, very open-ended. Like not when confronted or when this has happened to you. Okay? All right. What is the next question you guys have written and you want to read about it, or that's it?
We only could write the role definition of communication.
Okay.
We have
Okay.
just
Okay.
written the
But
communication.
any question you want to? Right now that I told you, how will you, what will you ask? Like the definition of a communication is expressing needs and desires effectively to co-workers and superiors in a professional manner. It could be written communication, it could also be oral communication, etc. So would you like to find out, or how will you find out? if you want to find out the what is it, proficiency level, you want to evaluate the proficiency level of communication.
Can we ask a question like, in a turbulent business scenario or situation, how did you, I mean, where were the budgets were tight and the business performance was getting on lower side? How did you cope up with the causes and the effects with the union, with the workers, and talked about the management expectations? Can we use in this way a communication?
No hypothetical question. Second point you should write. No hypothetical question, but definitely you can write, because communication means in a manufacturing organization. No, when I said hypothetical means what will you do? No. It is always past behavior predicts future behavior. So what will you ask? Considering the fact that this role has stakeholders who unions, employees, management, external stakeholders. So you can say, give me an example, or tell me about a situation where you had to deal with your stakeholders with respect to a challenge which has happened in terms of communication. How did you go about it? Or say, for example, a typical communication challenge will be wage negotiation settlement. You agree?
Yeah.
In a manufacturing organization, where a lot of negotiation communication has to be done. You can talk about it. Or, for example, trying to take whatever has been decided by the union or the workers to the management and convincing them, some kind of a challenge. Or to negotiate something with regard to certain policies, etc. So there are so many aspects. So you can actually talk about those things and say, give me a situation which was very, very critical. Or tell me an example of a situation which has happened in the past, which required your ability to convince. You can be very focused, or which required you to negotiate or influence or persuade something or bring about, some convincing has to be done. So you want to know about it, right? But do not get into a hypothetical situation. Okay, guys? But good job done. But I hope you have at least understood the basic, principles of asking questions. Let us go to the other group.
Yeah, ma'am. The role what we had is of HRBP role for IT industry.
Excellent.
Okay, so we had two competency. First is independent judgment, and another one is employee relations.
Good.
So now directly coming to the questions. Okay, so it's like a past performance, past behavior. What we are asking. Tell me about a time when you had to give feedback to a team member.
Okay, let us stay with the question.
Yeah, ma'am.
You are saying you want to assess the competency called, what competency is it? Listening, or what is that competency you have to do? Let me see, what competency are you evaluating? Independent judgment. Okay, independent judgment. Okay. So you are asking a question. Tell me about a time. Can I see the question? When you had to give feedback to a team member. Now look at that question. If I were the person, I will say, well, there was a time when I had to give feedback to my team members during an annual appraisal review, and I think there was nothing significant. See, look, think about the question. What should the question also highlight?
Ma'am, should I explain the point?
Yeah, so that I can then modify your question.
Yeah. So basically, for independent judgment, the behavior indicators that we have considered is first active listening, problem solving, adherence to the compliance or basically the policy guidelines, whatever is there, and final decision making.
I will agree. Absolutely.
First question I won't touch because that was our brainstorming thing. For this, we have asked the first question, that is highlight the major challenge you are facing. It is an IT industry. So considering the IT industry, that too, we have taken startup as an example.
No, let me also go to that first question. The same question you can also ask. Let me tell you. Tell me about a time when you had to review the performance of an underperformer. Are you getting me?
Okay, okay,
Huh? And how did you go about?
okay.
Then it will also help you to understand how does he deal with an underperformer? What does he do with that? Does he help? Does he coach? What does he do exactly? Are you telling me? I mean, take that situation also. Because there will be time there will be underperformers. So when you have to give them some feedback on the, tell me about a time when you had to give feedback on the performance. Here you said you had to give feedback to a team member. Feedback on what? So I'm saying, okay, use that feedback
Okay, okay.
for not performing the work, right? Underperforming. Okay. So that could be one
This
good
question
question.
will be more under the employee relation, no?
No. So independent judgment, sometimes what maybe, you want to find out, because HR business partner role is to take care of the entire employee life cycle of an employee of that business, right? So
Okay.
there will be situations when you have to maybe especially during annual appraisal, you have to sit through and you have to take sometimes some kind of an independent judgment, right? And when you are doing independent judgment, you also have to do active listening, you have to solve problems which you have written very rightly. So you want to check. So I'm giving you, I mean, it's okay to talk about it, but I'm only looking at the way you have framed the question. Got it?
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Now next, let us go to the next question.
yeah. So the next the question will be, we have asked, highlight the major challenge you are facing. So considering a startup IT company, we have taken an example that attrition was the challenge. So
One second.
we have
Here, when you're saying highlight the major challenges you are facing, can be little modified, little saying, hey, what are some of the major challenges you are facing in your current
current organization.
current job, right? Or in your role, right? Because if you are saying organization, I might be facing a lot of, as an organization, there might be a lot of challenges, right? I'm not interested in all those trends and everything, whatever. I'm making less profits and in your current role or in your function.
Okay.
Like for example, I may facing high attrition, like you have written here, right? You want him to say attrition. So rather than talking about it, you can also directly come to attrition if you want to.
Okay. No, basically it was policy drafting and all. We had the scenario. So then when
Okay.
attrition was said, we basically asked, what are your analysis and what steps did you take? So that was basically say connecting with the stakeholder, understanding, evaluating the exit interview and all. And then we said, how
Okay,
did
don't
you
go to
resolve?
next one. Don't go to next one. I'm just dealing with that. I would typically ask an HR business partner role because I want definitely to know that how current this person is. Hey, what is your attrition in your vertical? Direct question. What is the present rate of attrition? I want to know the present rate of attrition, right? That's it. I don't want to beat around the bush. All right. Having said that, then, so what is that? How are you dealing with the attrition? What is that you're doing with the attrition? How are you reducing the attrition? What are the steps? Okay, you have written what are the steps. So they will say 1, 2, 3. Or how are you going to reduce it? How did you reduce the attrition? What is that you did? So then you will elicit, okay, fine, what did you do? What kind of data did you take? How did you go about, etc., etc. So rather than just highlight the major challenges, I would directly attack what's the attrition. Okay?
Okay. So what are your analysis with that? The individual will definitely say that.
Again, what are your analysis of vague question?
Okay.
You ask anybody, what are your analysis? You ask somebody else now. Just ask in your group himself as an HRBP role or something. That person will not, there is no clarity in that question. If I don't give clarity, then how will you expect the candidate to respond to you rightly? So it is my duty to give clarity, no? So what are you expecting out of it? What are your analysis? You first have clarity when you are asking that question.
Okay.
You tell me, as a group, you all tell me, what is that you are expecting with this? What are your analysis?
So with this thing, we were thinking that they will say that the attrition percentage is this some number. And we identified that major exits are in the range of 2 years once the employee completes 2 years or so.
So are you expecting, so that means you are actually expecting what are some of the key reasons for this attrition?
Okay.
You agree?
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that you want to know whether attrition is at lower levels or it is under certain particulars. So at least I should know what are some of the reasons for this attrition and where.
Yeah, actually, that was the expectation.
Hmm.
We agree. It has to be more specific.
And what is that you did to reduce this attrition?
Hmm.
And so when the person says that these are the steps you did, so you can actually check with the person, okay, then did you achieve your goal? Okay, then what happened? So you want to know this is what you wanted to do. You wanted to reduce, but you went through all these course of action, etc. And then, but yet the result was not satisfactory. You want to know exactly all that. You will know exactly what did he do to reduce attrition, what are some of the initiatives he did. So that's where is the real action, not the results or the outcome. And then you'll ask, okay, what happened in the end? What was the by how much were you able to, what percentage were you able to reduce the attrition? So after end of 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you getting me? Okay.
Yeah.
Now let us go to the third question.
Should we go to employee relation thing?
No, there is something. Discuss a situation where you have a quick decision to address an unexpected situation. So what did you have in mind and what was it?
So this was basically based on the discussion what we had, how the person had actually connected, tried to understand the scenario, and what
Okay.
inference the person has drawn.
Okay, this is actually that entire thing, you are breaking it up. All right. Okay. But yes, even by itself, decision making, if you want to check, you can always ask, tell us an example when you had to make a quick decision, which was very, very, unexpected. What was it? What did you do? Right? What were the things, etc., etc. You can talk about it. All right. Let's go to the next one, employee relations.
So employee relation, we have taken.
This is a very
basically,
nice
yeah.
way of putting this question. Very nice way of putting this question. Tell us about a time when you were able to resolve the conflict between CFTS/team members. Good.
So that was the first question the person has narrated. So we asked how, for one more question to understand how the person got to know about the conflict, whether it was employee relation, employee directly approached or something. And then we asked, what action did you take to resolve the conflict?
Okay.
Depending upon the solution, we will get to know whether the conflict was resolved or not.
Okay. Very good. Okay. I think, guys, what action did you take to resolve the conflict? Very good. I think so. By and large, both the groups have been able to gather some amount of structure in your way of questioning. I think that was a very quick learning. Both the groups have managed to learn how to structure your questions. Now, my question to you is there a difference between behavioral event interviewing and competency-based interviewing? Quick, rapid fire, please. Because I've given you a lot of gyan now. You should be able to tell me.
Yes, ma'am. There is difference between these two.
Okay. Anybody? Yeah. Yes, I think Shobit was trying to say something. Yeah, Shobit. Is there a difference between a behavioral event interviewing and competency-based interviewing?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me.
Ma'am, in behavior interview, we have to, we are going to see or we are going to judge that the candidate who is the candidate is able to survive in the in the certain circumstances, what set of behavior he is going to show. Like we will be giving him some case studies related to that and how he is going to deal with that. But in competency interview, we are going to judge his skills and what are the set of behaviors, all the job related knowledge which he have. So these things
Okay, here is
we are
it.
going
So
to
I just
consider
wanted to
between
check what is your
difference between these two
understanding.
interviews.
Okay, here is it. So I wanted to bring this concept because we are actually now talking about, when we talk about a competency based interview, as the name suggests, competency based interview. I'm doing interviewing to select candidate, right? For a particular position. So what am I doing an interview based on competencies? That means I'm actually interviewing the candidate, checking out, evaluating, assessing whether he has the necessary key competencies required for the particular job I'm assessing. Got it? Very clear? So if I'm interviewing Anjana for a position of a finance manager, I will first check what are those key competencies required, and my questions will be focused mostly what questioning in terms of evaluating whether those competencies are there. But when I'm evaluating her for those competencies, I use a technique called what? Behavioral event interview. What does it mean? If I'm going to test that finance manager for which I'm actually interviewing Anjana needs eye for detail as a key competency, because finance, lot of data will be there, finance data. So eye for detail is very important. So I'm going to use behavioral event interviewing, which is actually a technique. Shobit, I hope you got it now. So
Yes, ma'am.
behavioral event interviewing is a technique which I'm going to use to assess whether Anjana has eye for detail competency, or adaptability is a key competency I have to assess what Priya for. So I'm going to use BEI to test whether Priya demonstrates adaptability in the past. So I will asking her a behavior event interviewing, a critical situation, using a STAR method to check whether she demonstrated what adaptability in the past, what the situations in her past work. Okay, Shobit, I wanted to make that clarification. So, behavioral event interviewing is a part of the competency based interviewing, means I use it. Okay. And apart from that, I also use this BI technique when I have to do competency mapping of a particular position, or when I'm doing competency mapping for different roles, because I want to find out what are the key behavioral competencies. I will do BEI and interview key performers who are high performers and also average performers, so that I can actually then observe from those situations, evaluate, classify, and get those key competencies out. Is that very clear, guys? Please, this is very important for your understanding. Okay. Now, having said that, say for example, I'm actually assessing somebody for adaptability. What are some of the questions I can ask? Tell me about a time when you were asked to do something you had never done before. So, what did you do? What was the learning, etc.? That means he's going through an entire situation. Or look at how you started. Describe a situation in which you had to embrace, or which you had to learn a new system, process, or technology. How did you go about? What was it? So I'm learning. And especially when you had to move away from the old system. Or see, Recall a time when you are assigned a task outside of your job description. So how did you handle the situation? How did you go about, etc.? Or tell me about a biggest change that you have had to deal with and how did you go about. Change management is also adaptability. Or tell me about a time when you had to adjust to your colleague. So these are some of the questions and the way you start if you want to assess adaptability. Look at another thing, culture fit. I'll just look at two questions. What are the three things that are most important to in a job? Then tell me about a time in the last week when you have been satisfied, energized, and productive at work. And what is that you were doing? How did you go about? Or what is the most interesting thing about you that is not on your resume? What would make you choose our company over the others? So you want to test for culture fit. So you are actually looking at, where is this person coming from? Okay. Collaboration. Amit was asking collaboration to Aman. Give me an example when you had to work with someone who was a difficult person to get along. How did you handle that? How did you go about? You want to know everything. Or tell me about a time when you are communicating with someone and he did not understand you. What did you do? Or tell me about a time about one of your favorite experiences of working with a team and what was your contribution and how did you go about. So these are some of the questions you can ask for collaboration. Leadership. Anyone want to take, one can read one or two questions on leadership? Anybody? Volunteer.
Yeah, so tell me about the last time something significant didn't go according to plan at work. What was your role? What was the outcome?
So is it something hypothetical? No. You are asking something which has happened and you are asking him how did it entire go? And you can start probing in there. You can read, anybody can read the third or Aman can read the third question.
Give me an example of a time when you felt you led by example. What did you do and how did others react?
Okay. So you are finding, is it again something with reference to past? Yes. It is not hypothetical. So what you should not be asking is hypothetical questions because you don't know how that person is going to. You definitely want to know how did he behave in the past. So these are some of the questions. Now let me come to something interesting. Any clarification on STAR, guys? Everybody understands, right? That the STAR technique and observation technique. As an interviewer, if you have to observe, record, classify, and evaluate the entire STAR technique. Okay. Now let me ask you certain things. Always start with open-ended questions like tell me about a time or describe for me or give me an example of a time when. So you can do that. So it's very important to start in a very open way. Now, activity 1, I want everybody to tell me. Now, these are a set of questions. Okay. I want you to tell me which are those questions which are behaviorally based, right? I want to test for team player. And if I ask, are you a team player? Is it a right question, wrong question?
Wrong question.
Wrong question.
Excellent. Tell me about a time when you were in charge of a task or a project and describe your leadership style.
Right.
Is it a, huh?
Right question.
It helps, yeah. What interests or concerns do you have about the position or about working here at Moody?
Wrong question.
No. So I'm
Open-ended.
asking you, is it
Okay.
a question
Okay.
which will give you behavior?
Okay.
Which will give you behavior?
What interests or concerns do you have about the? May not.
No,
Wrong
it is
question.
not about a behavior.
It is
So
not.
it is a question which is not throwing a behavior, rather it's an evaluative kind, an improper question. What was your greatest challenge in a particular leadership role you have had? Definitely, it will throw up. It's a behavior-based question.
Behavioral question.
What idea have you developed and implemented that was particularly creative or innovative? He will go through the entire situation, right?
Wrong question.
But
Not a behavior.
idea. Huh? So definitely, it's not a behavior question.
Behavioral question.
What characteristic do you think are important for this position? Is it a behavior question? Behavior can be observed. Please
Yes.
think about it. When I say behavior, behavior has to be observed. Can you observe behavior in this last question?
No, I don't.
He's only it is only about characteristics. It's not about behavior. No. My question to you is identify. It is not a behavior. Simple. Can you observe behavior in this? No. Characteristics. I can't observe behavior. So it's not a behavior question. So convert these questions into behavior. Are you a team player? Anybody, please reframe that question.
So
Can you reframe that question and convert it into a behaviorally based question?
I will try. Tell me a time when you have to, deal with a critical situation in the team, resolving a conflict within the team members.
Anybody else?
I'll
Simple.
just
Make
give
it a simple
another
short
try.
question. Pardon?
I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Tell me of a time when you had to solve a problem as a team.
How did you go about? Or simple. Tell me a situation where you had to be a team player. How did you go about? What is that you did? Right? You only want to know a situation. How do you motivate people? Convert it into a behavioral based question. A very easy question. How do you motivate people? Convert it into a behavior question. What is that you did to motivate people? Give us a situation.
Right.
Behavior. Right? What is that you did to motivate your people? Give me any situation. What motivates you to excel? Give me a situation where you had to excel in something. What motivated
on the Excel question, can we look forward to like asking a question? Do you use some specific Excel tools?
No. This is not an Excel tool.
Okay.
This is, you want to do your best. What is that which motivates you to excel?
So can we also ask questions on reporting?
No. This Excel is
Excel
how do
is
you do
excellence in
what
performance.
you want to do your work well.
This, yeah,
Not
I was
MS.
just trying to tell Amit, this is not Excel.
Okay, I got it, ma'am. I got it.
Doing
Excellent
good
is
in
excellent.
a
Okay.
job.
My
So
bad,
give me
my
a
bad.
situation
Yeah.
where you are motivated to
Right,
excel.
Right.
Right? Simple. Where you had to do your best.
Okay.
Take us through a situation where you had to do your best. Last question. How would you react to having your credibility questions?
Tell me about a situation when your credibility was questioned and how did you react?
Excellent. That's simple. No? Are you now getting that hang of
it.
how do you turn them into,
Yes.
True.
Okay. Determine which competencies are assessed with the following questions. You have 5 minutes. Describe a time you worked with a team.
Competency assessed with the following questions. Okay.
Teamwork.
Absolutely. Tell me about a time when you had to motivate a group of people to meet a deadline.
Management.
Because you had to motivate. Yes. Give me an example of a time when you had
You
to
had to
motivate
motivate also,
yourself
and you
to
had
get
to manage the timeline also.
get project done. So how did you do this? So what does it mean? So
Commitment.
what all competencies will come here?
Collaboration.
Commitment.
Yeah. Communication will come, follow through will come, right?
Cooperation will also
Cooperation will come, teamwork will come. No? So you
Yeah.
can, so now are you getting, how do you ask? I mean, you can't just straight away ask, okay, are you a good team player? Or tell me, how did you, collaboration? So you have to make them, translate them into situations, action verbs, and translate them into behaviors. Because behavior is what you can observe. Okay. I already discussed this. When you have to do a competency based interview through your BEI, first of all, you have to understand the job very well. And then all your questions have to be related to those competencies. They have to be open ended. You have to ask them about specific situations and specific examples, and ensure that when you are documenting, that there is consistency in what the person is telling you about the situations. So I give you 4 criteria for a situation. What is that? Anybody remembers? How do you evaluate that situations?
It has to be recent.
It has to be significant, right?
Significant, yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
That's how it becomes a critical situation. It has to be significant. 2, definitely it has to be recent, not something very, very outdated. It also have to have the current trend and job related. Okay. Again, which competencies are these questions targeting? Somebody can be the interviewer and somebody can respond. Yeah. Anybody who wants to be the interviewer. In the sense, there are questions. Read a question and somebody will respond saying this is the competency which they are checking.
Tell me about a time when you had to handle a kind of project you hadn't handled before.
So, which
Resourceful.
competency is this question? Huh?
Resourceful.
Absolutely. Yes, resourceful, because this person has never handled that, right? It could also have some amount of problem solving and all that, but mainly resourceful. Next.
Tell me about a time when you were under a great deal of pressure to deliver on time.
Obviously, it's very obvious, very obvious. Somebody who's responding quick.
Time management.
Anjana said time management.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Third question.
Describe a time when you had to choose between product delivery and quality.
Decision.
Decision making.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then the
Describe
other
an
one.
unpopular decision you had to make.
What would it be then?
This is also decision
Teamwork.
making.
Unpopular decision, yes, but you also had to have, resourcefulness also. How will you influence people? Then there is teamwork there, right?
Yeah. Describe the most effective team that you were part of or led.
Because describe an unpopular decision. Let me tell you, the HR business partners or the HR people by and large will have to normally handle such things, unpopular decisions. Okay. Promote somebody, give less increment to someone. Okay. Yeah. Describe the most effective team that you are a part of or led. So obviously, teamwork. Good. Okay. So in the end, when you are collecting data, it's very, very important then to segregate all your data and then classify them and put them into the right kind of competencies. I will send you a document which gives you this. Once you have documented data, how do you classify them, evaluate them, and then put them under the which rating scale they come, and then overall rating, how do you do that, and then say whether you need to select them or you need to reject them. Okay, I will send you a document which actually gives you that entire process of doing things. So these are some of the things you really need to bear in mind. What is that? Data, is it fake or is it really accurate? Are there any missing, gaps in the stories? You have to check them. Then you have to look at patterns emerging. When I said patterns emerging, so you are looking at, say, for example, you are looking at problem solving. So there were one or two situations where data about problem solving is also coming up. Okay. What you need to check or what you need to see is there a consistency in the way these actions are coming up? And you can actually then see pattern of this person being, yes, he's a problem solver. He's an initiator. He's a creative person. He's a team player. So when you look at all this data, these situations, and analyze them, you can actually see patterns. Okay. But if you do not see too much of patterns and, suddenly one situation where he's just saying, okay, I'm an initiator or I'm a team player, that doesn't give you the confidence of saying that, hey, yes, he is a great team player. That's why you need more data, more situations, more time to, more situations you have to ask them. And so that you can see what a pattern, a consistency. You don't want somebody who will maybe once in a year come out with some, kind of an initiative. You want to see in his day-to-day routine work, is he a team player? Is he a problem solver? Is he an initiator? Those kind of a thing. So how will you be able to check that? Only when your data is also showing certain consistency in the way these things are coming up. That's called considering the patterns which are emerging. So for this, you definitely need what? Great listening skills, observing skills. Do not come to immediate conclusions. Go back after the interview is done, whether it is an interview panel or whether you have done, and look at your data. That's very important, guys. Okay. Does the competency appear consistently? That's what is very, very important. Or is it rarely seen? No. As I said, competency models can be used in all this. The last thing I wanted to show you is, yep. Well, do not ask questions with regard to sex, race, color, nationality, origin. Today, in fact, you cannot question whether she's married, not married, right? I hope you know all that. These are questions which are legally, you cannot ask a person all these questions, okay? You have to avoid all these questions. Closed questions. Why a typical no to closed questions? Because they do not elicit any information. No closed questions, no hypothetical questions. One great question which we all interviewers ask, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Is it a question which we should be asking, or is it absolutely irrelevant question? Anybody?
No, I would say no, not to be any of the candidate now, and rather this question can be rephrased in some other way.
It's a waste of time. Earlier on, 20, 30 years ago, that used to be a great question for both the interviewers and interviews. They would be tutored. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? And the candidate also was tutored in terms of how to convert those strengths in weaknesses into strengths and take. It's a absolutely no question. It doesn't help you. Okay. Then closed questions. What are closed questions? Oh, are you a leader? Yes, I'm a leader. It's a closed question, no? Huh? Oh, did you go to that college? So responses which land up into yes or no are absolutely, you're wasting time. Unless and until you want some confirmation in terms of, hey, there are some question you want to, there, maybe you want him to actually confirm saying yes or no. So those are questions which you should not be actually asking them. Today, oh, where do you think you will be in the next 5 years? Is it a win-win question or absolutely a no question? Is it an appropriate question? Where do you think you will be in the next 5 years?
Open-ended question with a lot of thoughtfulness.
Lot of people ask, where do you think you will be? It's an absolutely, you don't know. Today, the economic conditions, everything is changing, market dynamics. Earlier on, they would ask, oh, where do you think you want to be? Where all these hypothetical questions, today one doesn't ask. Stress questions. Like, there are interviews where you put them on stress. Unless and until the job as such is actually a stressful kind of an environment, then you want to test for stress. A sales job, maybe you will put him under certain pressure, certain stress. But an HR job, there is no stress. Then why will you put that person under unwanted stress, right? Like, for example, you don't give a seat to a person. Earlier, a lot of things used to happen. So now today, we don't believe in these things. Unless and until warranted, we don't put people under stress, because you cannot give your best if you're putting a person under stress. Okay? Yeah. So open-ended, close-ended, we talked about, right? Hypothetical questions, like, for example, you create a scenario and they'll say, what do you think? There is nothing like, what do you think? Because always the person will choose to respond in the way which is positive. So it is not really testing his behavior. No leading questions. I hope you know what are leading questions, which end up in yes or no. All right. Yeah. I wanted to talk about definitely body language is very, very important. And I'm sure eye contact becomes very important. The way you sit is also very important. Also to understand the other person, how he sits, what are his gestures. Those things are very, very important. And in your reading material, there's a lot of information with regard to body language. Please read that. I only wanted to do that. Yeah. Last, I wanted to look at biases. Anybody who's familiar with the kind of biases we have? One is the first impression, right? If you are dressed very well, if you speak very well, so do not go by the first impressions. So competency-based interview helps you to become very effective interviewer, because it moves away from the first impression, because you need data. It is data driven. Then what is this called? Our personal subjective biases, like the leniency error. What is leniency? Oh, okay, I'll put everybody in an average. Okay. Then there is something called halo effect. What is the halo effect? Again, getting impressed with one particular factor, and I actually then take that as a factor for deciding on selection. Like, for example, oh, he's from IIT. Oh, he is from IIM. Then that gets me clouded with the rest of my decision, one particular factor. Or there is something called Me Too effect. Oh, Amman studied in my college. Oh, the same college. It's called the Me Too effect. And then we start, oh, apna aadmi hai ye, apna gaon ka hai. So you begin to, so everything becomes, so everything becomes clouded. So that's called the Me Too effect. Or there is something called the horn effect. What is the horn effect? The opposite of the halo effect. So I reject a person because of some X factor which I don't like. It happens, right? So these are all my subjective biases. So before closing, I wanted to leave you with one very nice, interesting story about these biases. Okay. In Mahabharata, there are these Kauravas and Pandavas, and both of them were taught by whom? Guru Dronacharya, right? Guru, no? Huh?
Yeah.
Who was their Guru?
Dronacharya.
He was doing justice, teaching both Kauravas and also Pandavas very well. But who was the leader of Kauravas? Who was the eldest son? Duryodhan.
Duryodhana.
He always had a problem with Dronacharya, saying that you are always,
Yes.
not teaching us well, and you are always taking sides with the Pandavas. So he wanted to teach him in a very practical way. So what is this called? I'm teaching you perceptual biases. So he called Duryodhan. He also called Yudhishthir, who was the head of the Pandavas. He said, both of you go and get me 3 good people and 3 bad people. What was the task? To get 3 good people and 3 bad people. So Duryodhan and also Yudhishthir, they went on their horseback. They left in the morning and then they came back in the evening. Then when they came back in the evening, Dronacharya found that none of them brought any people. And the task was to get 3 good people and 3 bad people. So he asked Duryodhan, what happened? He said, I went everywhere. I saw people doing the work. I saw people, they were not good, they were bad. Huh? You could only find bad people. I did not find any good people. So therefore, he could not bring 3 good people and 3 bad people. Then he listened to the story of Yudhishthir. He said, I went around, I found people hardworking. I only found good people. I did not find bad people. So what is the learning? What does it go to say?
So people
What does it go
That's who we are.
The
correct.
perception.
They went with their
Perception
thought process and
biases.
perception.
Duryodhana always looked at people that they are bad, so he only could see bad people. And he just always saw good people, so he only saw good people. So this is called perceptual biases. So when we are dealing with people, when we are so to eliminate these biases, we must have a structured way of doing things. And so when we actually select and the interviewing, competency based through behavioral interviewing helps us to be very effective because it takes away all the biases. How does it take away? By understanding the key competencies for which we have to evaluate, not something else. Because I have a person who has come for a particular job and I have not even read the job description and I'm asking him certain set of questions. You agree? Then there's another person who comes and I'm asking another set of questions. There's another person. So where is the standardization? No consistency. Are you looking at it? How can I be defensibility? No standardization, no set of questions asking the same questions to different candidates who come so that I can understand their level of competence in terms of knowledge, skills, abilities, etc. So, and then I don't document data. I'm asking different questions to different people. So how can my outcome, which is selection, be what effective? It's going to be varied. Or say, for example, there are 4 people asking 4 different questions. Is there standardization? So what does it go to say? That if I'm using a structure through competency basis, whether Amit will ask questions or Aman will ask questions, questions are there, same questions. And what are they going to evaluate? That is also there. What kind of proficiency levels it has to be there? That is also there. So all that I need to do when I'm asking questions, whether he is going to demonstrate what kind of a behavior is he demonstrating, and then I can evaluate on a rating scale of 1 to 5, where does it stand? And what is this job requiring? Does it require 3? Does it require 4? Does it require 5? And then I will evaluate everything, give a rating, and then what can be trainable, I will train and take that. Got it? So it's a very effective way of interviewing. Okay, guys? So having said that, we have come to the end of our session, and also you have got so much of input and so much of input. Now it is for you how effective you want to become in your competency management. But don't try to eat everything. Go in a small way, chew little bit, what can be done. So my suggestion to all of you is, now all of you are leaders, at some level or the other. Choose the low-hanging fruit first. Okay? When I say low-hanging fruit, what does it mean? Anybody?
Easy to start with or less impacting, like matlab, if something goes wrong.
Easy to reach.
Look at what is your immediate problem, business problem. Why? Because if you give an HR solution to that immediate business problem, your management will have greater trust in you. They'll say, hey, you are able to do this, you're getting results, a little more. So try to first of all get to the low-hanging fruit of what are those immediate fires you have to douse. Immediate key, which are related to business. Okay? And then start slowly and slowly getting on to the other things. Okay, guys? So don't think, oh, I learned competency management. Tomorrow I'm going to start off competency framework. But your business is going to say, you do your work, we'll do. Because we are not able to make productivity. We are not able to do this. So go understand what is business problem is first. And then see if you can give an HR solution to that. Got it, guys? From your own area of influence, what is that you can do to it? Okay?